Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. This is John McDougall. I am the event coordinator at Murder by the Book here in Houston, and I'm super excited for today's events. If you are tuning in now, make sure that you check back with us at 1 Central because we'll be having another panel featuring Bibliomysteries, but for this one, we're going to be chatting about all things paranormal cozies. I'm going to get everybody brought back in just a second and get them all introduced, but I just wanted to make some general store announcement stuff before we get started. So first, if you guys haven't come to visit us in a while, we are reopened. We reopened on Halloween. We're still encouraging masks in the store, but we've lifted the 6-person limit so that way we can fit more people in the store now that people are vaccinated and feel comfortable coming in. So we hope that you will come check us out and visit. If you are still not getting out and you prefer to do curbside pickup, you can always just give us a call right before you pull up and we can run stuff out to you. We're always happy to do that, even when there's not a pandemic. If you're in a hurry and you bought something and you just want to pick it up, give us a call. We're happy to run stuff out to the car for you. Also wanted to mention, while our authors are chatting this afternoon, if you have questions for any of them, you can post those in the comments on Facebook or the live chat on YouTube. I'll be keeping an eye on those and we'll get to those after they've chatted for a little bit. And wanted to mention a couple of other things we've got coming up. As I mentioned, we do have another Cozy Con panel happening later on this afternoon. Next Friday, I'm going to be chatting with Ellie Alexander and Kate Carlisle about their newest releases. And then on July 22nd, I believe, we're going to be chatting with S.C. Perkins, Esme Addison, and Sherry Harris about their new books. And I know a lot of people are curious about whether or not we are going to be hosting in-store authors anytime soon. If you are not signed up for the Murder by the Book newsletter, make sure you get signed up for that because we'll be making an announcement about that probably sometime in the next week. So lots of great stuff going on. As I mentioned, if you guys have questions for any of our authors today, you can post those in the comments. I'll also drop a link so you can get more information about all of their books. If you order a book by any of the authors, Kensington has provided us with some great swag bags, so we will get one of those sent out for you as well. But without further ado, let's get started this afternoon. So I'm going to start by introducing Daryl Wood Gerber. Let me bring her on the screen. How are you today, Daryl?
I'm great. How are you, John?
I'm good. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So Daryl is the Agatha Award-winning author of the Fairy Garden Mysteries, the French Bistro Mysteries, and the national best-selling Cookbook Nook Mysteries, and the popular Cheese Shop Mysteries, which she wrote as Avery Aames. Prior to her career as a novelist, she was an actress with roles in Murder, She Wrote and other television shows. She also wrote screenplays and created the format for the popular TV sitcom, which is one of my favorites growing up, Out of This World. Originally from the Bay Area, she now lives in Southern California, where she likes to cook, garden, and spend time with her frisky Goldendoodle named Sparky. Her most recent release is A Glimmer of a Clue, which actually comes out next Tuesday. And I was lucky enough to be able to chat with Daryl last year when the first book in the series came out. So if you haven't checked that out, that's also up on the store's YouTube channel. I've created a playlist for all of the cozy author events that we've done. So if you want to check that out, that's there. Next up, I'm going to bring out Valerie Wilson and Wesley. How are you today, Valerie?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm having trouble connecting, I think. Can you see me?
We can see you and hear you.
Oh, great. Good. I can see you both. Hello, everyone. John, thank you so much for inviting me. Daryl, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Valerie.
So Valerie is the award-winning author of the Blackboard best-selling Tamara Hale Mysteries and the Odessa Jones Mysteries, as well as adult fiction, children's books, and paranormal romance under the name Savannah Wells. She is the recipient of numerous honors, and she is married to noted screenwriter and playwright Richard Wesley and has 2 daughters. Her newest book, A Glimmer of Death, came out in January. I loved it. You can also check out the chat that I did with her and Angela Sanders, also on the store's YouTube channel. Next up, we are going to bring out Lynn Cohoon. How are you today, Lynn?
I am great. How are you, John?
Doing well, thanks. It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. So we were lucky enough to host Lynn. Gosh, it's probably been like 2 years now in the store. So I'm super excited that we were able to get you here for this new series. So Lynn is the New York Times and USA Today bestselling author of the Kitchen Witch Mysteries, the Cat Latimer Mysteries, and the Tourist Trap Mysteries, as well as the Farm to Fork series. Originally from Idaho, she grew up living the small-town life she now loves to feature in her novels. A member of Sister in Crime, Mystery Writers of America, and the International Thriller Writers, she lives with her husband husband and 2 fur babies in a small historic town on the banks of the Mississippi River. So her upcoming book, which is the second in her new Kitchen Witch series, is called Two Wicked Desserts, and it's going to be out on July 27th. And last but not least, I'm going to bring out Tracy Hall and Patrice. How are y'all today?
We are very good. Thank you.
Yes, we are. And happy to be here. Thank you for inviting us.
Thanks for doing this with us. So Tracy Wilton is a pseudonym of Tracy Hall and Patrice Wilton. Patrice Wilton is the New York Times and USA Today bestselling author of more than 20 books, some indie published and some published by Amazon Montlake. And Tracy Hall is the USA Today bestselling author of more than 50 books, published independently as well as by Medallion Press and Sam Hain Publishing. So their newest book, they just had one in the series come out in March, but their upcoming one is Mrs. Morris and the Vampire, which is going to be out on August 24th. And as I mentioned, if anybody watching has any questions for any of our authors this afternoon, whether it's about their newest paranormal books or any of their other books in the series, you can post those in the comments and the live chat on YouTube, and we will get to those. But for now, I'm going to go away and let them chat. So I will see you all in just a little bit.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Bye, John.
Hi. I need to update my bio. Hi, you guys. We are Patrice Wilton and Tracy Hall, and we are the team behind Tracy Wilton and authors of the Salem Bed and Breakfast Mystery Series from Kensington Publishing. Our series stars Salem, Massachusetts B&B owner Shirley Morris, and she enlists the help of her resident ghost to help solve murders. Our current release, Mrs. Morris and the Sorceress, is set during 4th of July. So if you're looking for an Independence Day read, grab your copy. Mrs. Morris and the Vampire will be out on August 24th.
But enough about us. Today we're excited to talk about paranormal
I'm having
and
trouble
fantasy.
hearing everyone. Tracy, what were you saying before?
Valerie, do you have an earbud you could put into your microphone and put in your ear? You'd hear us better.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No.
And she's frozen.
I have earphones. Headphones.
Let me see.
I think Valerie is frozen again.
You know, I don't think I do. I'm going to, shucks.
We need a ghost to help her.
Yeah,
Where's your ghost?
We should
need
send,
see if I can find
our
it.
Jack is actually very cyber tech.
Yeah, I think Jack would be a good fit for this right now. Send him over to Valerie.
Well,
Now we can't hear
are
anything.
we? Yeah.
You can't hear us?
Oh, I can. Yes.
Okay.
Can you?
I heard everyone
hear me
fine
last.
before.
Patrice?
Introducing yourself.
That's okay. Patrice, I think that we should probably just
I
continue
need to call my
on.
grandson. He's good with this kind of stuff.
Okay.
Patrice, why don't you just
Let me see.
continue?
All right. Here we go. Enough about us. Today we're excited to talk about paranormal and fantasy cozy mysteries. Here with us today is Lynn Cohoon, author of the Kitchen Witch Mysteries, starring Mia Malone, a kitchen witch who's starting over in her grandmother's Idaho hometown of Magic Springs, where the use of magic is an open secret and murder is on the menu. The first book, One Poison Pie, is available now, and Two Wicked Desserts releases at the end of July. And next, I would like to introduce Daryl Wood Gerber. Author Author of the Fairy Garden Mysteries, starring Courtney Kelly, owner of Open Your Imagination, a fairy gardening store and tea shop in Carmel, California. But in Carmel by the Sea, things aren't all sweetness and fairy lights. This first book, A Sprinkling of Murder, is out now, and Glimmer of a Clue releases next Tuesday.
We also have with us Valerie Wilson Wesley, author of the Odessa Jones Mysteries, starring Odessa Jones, whose extraordinary psychic gift plunges her already troubled present into chaos and puts her future in someone
Okay.
else's deadly sights. A Glimmer of Death is out now, and A Fatal Glow releases in March of 2022. So we get asked all the time, where did we come up with the idea for Mrs. Morris and the Ghost? And we very much were inspired by The Ghost in the we absolutely binged on the black and white movie, and we saw some of the different episodes. And our Jack, he started out grouchy, but he mellows out with, once he realizes that Charlene is not going to be terrified of him forever, and they actually end up having a really nice friendship throughout the books. So we want to start with Lynn here. And what inspired you to be able to write a cozy mystery that had paranormal elements?
Oh, that's a good question. Actually, the Kitchen Witch mysteries started a few years before I published them, or Kensington published them. And I wanted something in Idaho that's very magical, because if you've ever visited and you go up into the mountains, you just feel that magic and feel that ability that you could do anything. So when I started thinking about things I loved, I'm a big Charmed, the TV show watcher. I just love that. I was in the hospital once, and that you could watch Charmed all day long. You just keep switching the channels, and so that was kind of my my emphasis, where I wanted something where magic was a known secret. And that's where Magic Spring comes in, where it hosts its own coven. Everyone knows there's magic there, except for the people who don't believe in magic, and they just think the other people are silly. So
I like it. And what about for you? We'll have you answer next, Daryl.
Oh, well, okay. And the question was, what inspired me to write a paranormal cozy? Well, interestingly enough, it's a funny thing, because I have a she's a sleuth fairy sidekick. I don't consider fairies paranormal, so it's sort of interesting. She doesn't fall into the ghost, and she doesn't fall into the witches and things like that. And so it is very interesting that when someone says, you write a paranormal, it's like, okay, because fairies sort of fall into the magical. And what inspired me was actually creating my own fairy gardens. I went to a Renaissance fair, and I saw this woman creating fairy gardens, and I found them so magical to be around. And when I went down to a store that's not far from me to buy some fairy garden materials and make my first, I got this desire to write something that had gardening with it. The inspiration of do it yourself, and then the fairy came to me. I have this she's outside in my garden right over there, and it's right past my computer is my garden, and I have this little blue fairy, and she is Fiona, and she came up today, and it was like to me, and it was like, oh wow, I have to write about her. Of course, when I told my agent about this idea, he said, I don't think so. To make sure that, indeed it would be as lighthearted and as fun as I wanted it to be. But it is funny to sort it into the paranormals when I just consider it a cozy or traditional mystery. But I guess Fiona is, well, to some she might be real, like Jack, I see her. So does that make me a little loony? Yeah, maybe.
We are authors. It's okay.
Fiction. Everything is fiction. It's not real. How about you guys? Why did you start writing paranormals?
A week. Go ahead, Patrice.
When we started, what was it, about 3 years ago? Tracy and I had never written a paranormal. We were all into romance, and Tracy's been all over the continent with different style writing. She tried everything, and was good at everything. But then, yes, this was sort of offered to us. It just sort of dropped in our laps, and we were very happy to have it. And so we went from being just like a romance writer to doing cozy mysteries. And I had not even read one before I started writing one.
Wow.
But it's been really a fun adventure with Tracy. It's just been just so great because we've been so, long time friends, and it works out so good.
Yeah. So, do you want to tell them, Patrice, whether or not you believe in paranormal? Like, do you believe in the
Are
ghost?
you speaking with me?
I'm talking to you. That was your question.
Well, let me just take a peek at my paperwork here. Okay. Well, Tracy and I have never seen a ghost or any paranormal element, but that doesn't mean we don't believe in them. So I would like Daryl. No, you already just went. I don't think Lynn. I don't think you have been answered the question yet.
Well, I have been asked the question, but that's okay. I do believe in the paranormal. I have seen a ghost. I believe she was trying to warn me off my first husband, and I didn't listen, which dumb me. The reason I picked magic is because with the Kitchen Witch series, they feel like they're not witches, like the Coven witches, but they're more healers. So going back into history, when you look at the people who were considered witches in the past, they were people who were healers, and they took the stuff that they had from the land to make the boil on your leg go away and all of those type of things. So yeah, there's a lot of magic in it, but it all starts with that ability to be a healer, which I think is where doctors came from. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that doctors do that I totally consider as magic. So I think there's magic and stuff and spirits in the world today. We just have to be open to them.
I love that, Lynn. That is just great. How about you, Daryl? How do you feel about ghosts? Well, you already know that there's fairies.
Yeah, I do know that they're fairies, and fairies, their ambition, they do like you to give them gifts, and they like to give you gifts. They like to be very supportive. So fairies are good and good in your life most often, though there can be bad fairies. So you have to be careful. As far as ghosts and things like that, I think I told you guys this because we had a previous chat a few months ago. My mother encountered a ghost. She was a realtor, and she encountered the spirit of a little boy in a house. Every time she showed the house, a ball would bounce down the stairs.
Yeah.
And she found out that a little boy had died in the house. And she couldn't explain it. My mother was one of the
noise in the kitchen.
Who do we hear now? There we go. Okay. We've got ghosts coming in today.
That was very spooky. What happened just there?
Right, it's a little spooky. We got Valerie and probably her son, I think. So anyway, we've my mom would hear this thing. So I have not personally encountered a ghost, but I would not rule them out at this point because I believe that there are so many levels of our world and our spirits and everything else that there's possible. It's possible, and so I won't rule it out. I just have not encountered it. I will. Well, okay, I'll keep that for another story. About something else.
Okay, but that's like so important too, to kind of our imagination. Our writer's mind is the possibility of things happening and being able to portray it on the page. So good for you. Good for you. And see, I am myself now questioning. I didn't think that fairies would be real, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm okay with that.
Valerie, we're glad to see you. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me now? I hope so.
Yes, I can. Valerie, the question that we're asking right now is, do you believe in ghosts or fairies or witches and any other paranormal creatures? Valerie?
She has a wonky connection today.
I know.
It's so sad.
I think the reality is, I think there are many things in life that we don't understand. Can you hear me now? You can't. Oh dear.
Yes.
Oh, it's, I think it's
We can hear you. We just can't see your mouth moving.
things in life one can, and I think it's often, as they say, faith and hope, the unseen. Can't see me. As long as you can hear me, I'm fine. And you just can't measure life in teaspoons. You have to say, well, perhaps this is so, perhaps this is not. And much of life is magical. And I think that, so in terms of, I think that with the book is, one of the things that I'm dealing with in the book is the fact that although she is able to sense and see things, she completely rely upon it. It's not, the glimmers that she sees are not always telling her what's real. And that's what she's dealing with in the book. Besides the fact that nothing warned her about what was going to happen in her life, witches and fairies and ghosts. Ghost, I'm a little bit, perhaps so. Often, not often, but every now and then you'll see something and you'll say, that was peculiar. And that is where, perhaps this is not what I thought it was. Perhaps I'm taking too much for granted. And often, as one character in my book says, not everything is tied to the senses. There is the paranormal, the sixth sense. And that's what I'm working with in this book.
Valerie, I would like to say something to you.
I've been cut off. I feel like being sitting out of the conversation, and I'm sorry for that. I heard bits and pieces, but my husband, bless his soul, came in to try to help me out.
Valerie, I thought that was a ghost behind you.
Okay, I guess I'm still not.
Yes, I saw him. He's real.
All right. Well, now we're going to talk a little bit about research
him.
and the kind of stuff that we do for our books. With the Salem Bed and Breakfast series, Patrice and I actually went to Salem, and we did everything that Charlene would do as a new resident to Salem, because she was from Midwest Chicago, grew up religious, strict family. So seeing a ghost to her was like, it was a very mind-opening situation. But we had so much fun doing the research. We even went to the Hawthorne Hotel and we looked for a ghost. And we didn't see one, but a maid scared the daylights out of us as she came in behind us down the hall. And then we also looked for orbs at the old Burying Point Cemetery, and we didn't find anything there either. But let's go ahead and let's start. Oh, with Valerie is gone. So let's go ahead and go, Lynn. What kind of research have you done?
Research. Actually, I kind of write romance. I used to write romance. I'll say it that way. Before I wrote too many mysteries. And I have a romance set in Salem. So one of the things I did when I was researching that romance is I went Googling Salem, it's still one of my to-go places, but I couldn't get there. So what I did with the Kitchen Witch is I knew what Idaho would look like, or this area around Sun Valley, because it's where all the rich people come in and they have these big houses and they leave, and so it's a place that's really set in my mind. So researching that wasn't so much, but researching the history of the healing arts and the history of what used to be called a kitchen witch, because they came from Norway, is where the idea originated. So I got really sucked into some of those rabbit holes and looking for that way. But it's that way with an author. I mean, you get started and you start looking at something, and then it's like, ooh, that sounds like a really cool book, and then you get sucked in. But yeah, that was where I started researching and did most of my research, was in the issue of, what's a grimoire and what does that look like? And of course, mine are different than other people's, but like with mine, if you have a grimoire and the person that's passing their magic down to you dies, then all their spells load up into your grimoire. So it's kind of like having a computer. So it's really, it just uploads all those spells. So you have those. So all the family and getting into that and having that idea. And then I started thinking about the witches of Salem and the bishops and all of those, and what would happen if she was part of that lineage, and and it just keeps rolling. So so those kind of rabbit holes just get me, and I love them, and so I just have to make sure I narrow it down for one book, because I could just keep writing.
That is awesome, Lynn. Tracy is our researcher. She digs really deep into, I think she found tunnels under Salem, and I mean, it's amazing all the things that you find, Tracy.
Well, and it's all these magpie ideas. I mean, as a writer, I don't know if you guys do this, but it's like, ooh, that's a cool piece of information. I'm going to keep that. And then somebody asks you something about something weird, and you say, oh, I know that, because sometime you researched it. It's just like, we're just magpies. We just want to suck in all of the information and push it out as books.
Are you good at Trivial
I can remember it.
Yeah, remembering it is the problem. Remembering it. So
that's why you write everything down. I mean, I've got lists and lists of things now. Yeah, right.
I can't read my handwriting.
Actually, I print now everything that I write as a note. But research is so vital. But you have to keep it, listed someplace. Like in my books,
Tell us about how your system.
I've got fairy lore, and I've got fairy rules, and I'm making them up as I go, because actually the fairies are not talking to me and giving me all their rules. So I do have to sort of make up my own, and it's been fun, but I do keep lists and lists and lists. And I just went through it for book 3, because the third one comes out next year. I went through my first 2 books and wrote down absolutely everything I ever said about fairies and what they could do, because I don't want to, number 1, repeat myself, or number 2, argue with myself.
Say something different.
It's really important that if I said that this is what they do, then this is what they do, and it doesn't vary to the 3rd book where a fan could come in and say, but in the first book, you said they could light matches with their fingertips. I didn't. But you know what I'm saying is fans do come back to us, because especially if they binge read and they read those books right in a row, and they kept something. I mean, I made a mistake in the Cookbook Nook Mysteries, and I will have to live it down, because and I didn't have it in my research list. So I've gone back and fixed those too, because that's in 10 books. You start to have a lot of things that are past history, and you better keep a list of them. So authors have to do this a lot. Yes.
I use a binder, which is very helpful to me. And now, so then I'll have my individual folders to be able to go through. So I don't know. Right. It's very, very interesting.
I haven't really.
Is that Val trying to talk?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've just read.
How do you do your research, Val?
The 3. I'm only right. I'm working on the 3rd. I do, because, can you hear me? I hope okay now.
We can hear you.
I used to be a journalist on a magazine and a magazine editor. Used to research and reporting, and I just. Oh no! You still can't. Is it still on?
We can hear you. We can hear you.
It's not on.
We can hear you.
You still can't hear me.
We can't.
No, we can't hear you.
You can't see me. The camera's
yeah,
on.
there you are. You're back.
See, this is perfect for the paranormal episode. We have Val.
Do you have anything else to say, Valerie? Because you are very interesting.
Now she's muted.
I don't think she can hear us now.
Mm.
Yeah, she's muted.
All right. Should we kind of keep going?
Okay. Next question.
Seems like it's muted.
All right. When we talk about paranormal beings.
No, it's muted. Oh.
What's happening? Should I continue?
Yes. Go for it.
Okay, when we're talking about paranormal beings or activities in pop culture, there's always an element of good versus evil. How does that work? How does your work dispel the notion that all paranormal beings are evil? For example, in our mysteries, our characters, including our ghost, are very likable and they're perfectly normal. I said, well, a ghost. He's not quite normal, but he's hunky. And then we have a killer, and he's always evil. So
Yeah.
that's what we do.
Yeah, the characters are good, and it's the bad guy that's the bad. Yeah, that's evil.
Right. And sometimes we don't even know who he is till the end.
Not really our secrets.
Well, I do the same. I mean, my fairies are good. My fairies definitely they're there. Specifically, Fiona has been kicked out of Fairy Kingdom because she was an imp. And so she's come in and she has to help humans solve problems in order to earn her wings, her adult wings, so she can get back into the Fairy Kingdom. So she's good. She may do impish things, but she wants to help humans. And so she's goodness personified.
Well, and I think with cozies too, you always have to have evil light. You know, it can't be evil because we're talking cozies, and I don't want to think about evil. You know, there's enough evil in the world with murder and why someone would kill someone. So your villain, yes, they are evil, but for the witchcraft, I try to soften it so it's witchcraft light, you know, because a lot of people have said, I don't read paranormal because of that, because, you know, it's good and evil and I'm good and that's evil. And I don't think we as cozy writers deal with that as much as maybe other writers who are dealing with horror and
horror, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we're softer. We're the softer side of Sears, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
That's very true.
Our agent told us that we needed to write a happy little murder.
Exactly.
That's what cozies are. Cozies have happy ever after at the end. I mean,
That's why I love them.
Yeah.
I love them. Yeah. Because my background with romance is also happy ever after. My YA series that I did that was all about the Wiccan religion and all of that, it's really, there's still a happy ending. And I like that in all the books that I write and read. So
right.
This is true. I just wanted to say that it's not just our killer that is evil. I mean, we have a whole cast of people that it could be the murderer, and about 4 or 5. So keep the people guessing, and all of them, you know, have dark secrets. So we have a lot of, you know, not so nice characters. Oh, I just saw a ghost. Yeah, so I was just meaning our main characters.
Well, I think there's a difference too between being bad or having bad intentions and being evil. I think saying evil pushes the line over into horror, you know, and I try to step back from that. You know.
Right. I totally agree. I totally agree. You know, there are a couple of other, you know, paranormals that we might read that have gargoyles in them. Even the gargoyles are nice.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, right? You know, there's someone has a pig spirit, and the pig spirit is nice. He's impish, but he's nice. So, you know, they are not evil horror kind of paranormal creatures. No claws, fangs, and blood.
Yeah.
Your guys' books just all sound so good. They sound perfect. I can't wait to read them. And I actually have had more time since everything to read. So
since the evil of the pandemic, no, that's evil.
The evil of the pandemic, I've had more time to read. Yeah.
So I think Valerie's back in with her voice only.
Okay. So Valerie, did you want to tell us whether or not you believe in good? Well, was that kind of the question, Patrice?
Yeah.
The question.
The question.
I say,
Okay. When we talk about paranormal beings, there's always an element of good versus evil.
really enjoyed the conversation about because I'm new.
No, even her voice is breaking up, guys.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I was going to say, having written straight and out my PI, it's really dealing with, and they're very different from cozies. And one thing that I've loved about cozies, like I think one of you mentioned, they're like good murders in a sense. There's a kind of not delving into evil like you would, let's say, in a regular novel, or the writing my Tamara Hales and paranormal novels. They're very clearly lines of evil. And one of the pleasant things about writing this code, also, the second one that is going to be coming out next year, and this third one now, is the fact that there is a certain kind of gentle goodness that you do, and there is within the world. Everything turns out back to their cozy home. They are able to deal with the reality of one reason that these Murder, She Wrote remain popular on top of a sense of unreality. And it's pleasant to write it. But paranormal and a demon lover, it took a lot out of you to do that. Because
Murder, She Wrote. Did she have any paranormal in that?
No, there's no paranormal in Murder, She Wrote. Only the fact that she can go from city to city to city and still survive.
Writing the cozy has been basically fun.
Yeah. Well, so I think I kind of went backwards because you guys all have other
classic.
And she's gone.
Okay.
So what were you saying?
Wait, Val might come back. I was saying that I think I went backwards. You guys all started writing cozies. You had your food cozy as the because Lynn and Daryl, you both had the food cozies, which I am a foodie. I love it. And Valerie did the series about a PI. I write the Scottish Shire mysteries, but this is the second book just came out. I'm kind of excited about it. But with the this was what we started with, was writing the paranormal. So it was very interesting to realize kind of I went backward from you guys and how much going without the paranormal that was such a thread. Like it's such an important part of the book.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes. Yeah, absolutely.
For you guys. So Lynn, why did you go from writing the other kind to paranormal? Why did you decide to jump into the spooky?
The interesting thing is the original Kitchen Witch book was written before Cat Latimer and written before the Farm to Fork books. So I went from Tourist Trap, which is my Central California tourist town where she has a bookstore, to the Kitchen Witch is what I wrote next, but it didn't sell.
Okay.
And so, we all want that agent. We all want that next book. So the next book I went to was the Cat Latimer books, which she's a writer who runs a writer's retreat. So for that process and for the Tourist Trap, it's always a business moving in, or it's usually a business moving into this town. And around that business moving into the town, there's also a murder that happens that they have to solve. For Cat Latimer, there's always a retreat. It's always set up around that week that she does this retreat. So there's always the 4 retreat guests, and so you always have a lot of people, which I love people in my books. Love people. Love a lot of people.
Except for that nobody wants to go to that retreat after book 10.
People have died there, so I'm not sure why they are coming, but whatever. So when I did the Kitchen Witch and I had that other thread, she, yes, is building her own business because she is a caterer too. But she also has that thread of her grandmother and the learning the kitchen witch because she has taken over the mantle from her mother. So, you know, you always have the A storyline and the B storyline. And for me, the murder and her business is kind of the A storyline, and the witchcraft is kind of the B storyline. But it keeps it interesting and fun. And you probably switched it around where, you know, first you're, you know, you're paranormal with the A one, then you go writing, and it's like, oh, I need another B storyline too.
We kind of do it, I think, in threes. And so we kind of had like 3 threads that we were running through all the books. So, and what about for you, Daryl?
Well, yeah. So I started with the Cheese Shop mystery series that I wrote it as a cheese. I mean, it was great. I lucked into that. I was writing suspense before I went into cozy mysteries. And that's a long story that I won't go into, but it's on my YouTube channel. So if anybody wants to see my YouTube, I explain why. Anyway, so I did the Cheese Shop mysteries, and from there I did Cookbook Nook Mysteries, which was just a natural transition for me, having a cookbook store, a culinary bookstore where there are all these things for food, and a cafe next door. So food was a natural transition for me. I did the French Bistro Mysteries. Again, more food. I had to learn about French food. When I got to Fairy Gardens, it was just one of those things. Like I said, I saw these fairy gardens. I dug in literally with my hands to make them. And it was just an idea of, what if I also wrote this? Because I didn't have something else to write about, books or libraries. Nothing was coming to me. And I love gardening. And I knew that gardening was sort of a subsidiary of, you know, a genre in cozy mysteries. And so then throwing into fairies, I looked, I made sure there are no cozies with fairies. I'm the only one with fairies as far as I can find. And it was just always fairies have always filled my life. I mean, I've always loved fairies, but not as much as when I started creating fairy gardens. And they've sort of taken over my life. Now I do throw in teas. I do have recipes in my book. So it's not like it's not a foodie book. I have lots of tea goodies and you know, scones and cookies and muffins and things that are in my books as recipes, so that my foodie people can follow me. Yes. And still get recipes, but maybe expand their audience to saying, oh, I could also read about a fairy. And because a fairy isn't scary, I can get some of my readers to read it that wouldn't read paranormal. You know what I mean? Even though most of ours are not scary, someone doesn't like a paranormal because they don't want to go outside the realm of real. But they're willing to take that leap of faith just for a fairy because they all saw Tinkerbell and they all
saw Tinkerbell. It worked out fine.
And she worked out fine, and we all clap and we say we believe. We believe. You know, and so Peter Pan, I think that it went into a realm that was safe for someone to cross over to read a paranormal. You know, they'll read about paranormal cats that talk. They'll read about, you know, things that are safe, comfortable.
I like it. Yeah. I like it.
Valerie, are you there? Valerie?
Do you want to just do the next question?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. Hey. Hi.
Am I not? I missed. Yeah, how does?
I lost it.
Poor Valerie. I'm so sorry.
I hope she gets to have a nice cup of tea, maybe a little brandy in it after.
Right.
Medicinal.
A massage from a ghost.
That's right.
This has been fun. I mean, all these, you know, interesting conversations are really great. But my question now is, supernatural happenings and beings are very often tied to specific regions or countries. How does regionality play into your storyline? As an example, our Salem bed and breakfast mysteries, they're the perfect setup because right there we have all the rich stories and rich and ghosts and vampires and all these, that's really very popular in that area. And most people do really, truly believe that they exist. So it was just a natural place for the books. How about you? Which one would you like to start?
Well, I'll start. Carmel by. Okay, that was there. I don't know where that noise is coming from, but it is definitely creepy. Can you hear all that?
Nope.
I've set my book in Carmel by the. Can you guys hear all the crackle in the background?
Yes.
Yes.
I think they're fairies.
I don't think they're fairies. Those are scary.
Fairies are nice.
Yeah.
Fairies are nice, she says.
Yeah. Much lighter.
Most of them.
What I'm hearing.
Closer, guys.
I set this in Carmel by the Sea, and Carmel is a real place. Most of my other books are set in my cozy mysteries, are set in fictional places I made up. I make up all the territory and everything else. But Carmel by the Sea is a very spiritual, lovely place. I spent a lot of time there when I was a girl. I live in California. It's on the coast of California. And it was populated starting after 1906 earthquake in San Francisco. Artists and authors moved down to Carmel to populate the area. And so it's filled with creativity and everything else like that. And the gardens are special and little and they just invite creativity. And so one of the reasons I chose Carmel, number one, is because I could go visit there. Research, so that was important. But also it just spoke to me, and I can do a lot of research online to see different places in Carmel where I'd like to set something. But it's that regionality was the question. How does it fit into my storyline? I think that a lot of people that go to Carmel or know about Carmel know that it has this ethereal underpinning of its community. And so I think people are willing to let go of a little bit of their beliefs in order to cross over into the, believing in the paranormal.
I like
It's
that.
a beautiful town.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Have you been, Lynn? Have you?
Yeah, for me, if you've ever been to like a mountain lake and it's really, really quiet and it's just you sitting out there, there's just this eeriness that comes over you. And I don't want to say gothic, but that kind of, there's something more than just you.
Like werewolves. Werewolves could be watching you.
Well, it could be werewolves. But what I meant was this spirituality, this ability that it's not just us in the world, because of the history, because of the mountains are so big, and the valleys, and the lake is so deep, and Loch Ness Monster, and it's just all of this magic that surrounds you. And I wanted to bring that mountain strength to that magic, where you're out there on your own and you have to do the things that you need to do to fix somebody, because maybe there's not a hospital nearby. And so you slap on the mustard on your burn and those type of things. So that is what moved me into setting it there in Idaho, just because I believe that the view and the mountains are just so
inspiring.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, that's how I feel about the beach. That's how I feel about the ocean.
I love the ocean. Yeah.
How you're describing the mountains it's very spiritual. It just kind of tucks in. Okay, well, let's see. We are at 50 minutes. So I am going to ask you all. Oh,
Hi.
So did you? Sorry, did you have one more for everybody, Tracy?
I was gonna do one more, but if you want to do questions,
no, go ahead. You do one more, and then once y'all are done with that one more, I'll pop back in and I'll relay the crowd questions.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so I showed you our beautiful cover. I am so in love with Kensington, what they did for our covers. And this one, Silva here has the rabbit ears on because it's Halloween. So Halloween is really like, there's so much paranormal about Halloween. And so it's kind of why we chose that. And this book starts off on Halloween, and at midnight, there's a staked vampire that, well, he wants everyone to believe he's a vampire, but Charlene and Jack figure out the truth. And so we have our 6 books with Charlene, and she's each time, Jack gets a little bit more cyber savvy because we made the world where he is not allowed to leave the bed and breakfast. We have to have ways that he can actually help Charlene be able to solve these murders. So we keep giving him a little bit more cyber magic. But so let's go ahead. Daryl, why don't you tell us what is next for your sleuth?
Okay. So Glimmer of a Clue. I love my cover too. Kensington does a really beautiful job, and this one is just so pretty.
It really is.
I don't know if you guys can see, but this is Pixie. I'll hold it closer. She's a little, my little white cat, and Pixie is her name, and she can see Fiona, so she can play with Fiona, which is nice. The third third in the series comes out next year, so they're coming out one at a time. This one comes out Tuesday, so please pre-order.
Wow.
Nice review, so please pre-order. Oh, and I should tell you, if any of you read ebooks, this is on sale until the 30th at $1.99. That's the first in the series. So you could read 2 for almost the price of 1. Okay. So there you go. Okay, I'm a salesperson. A Hint of Mischief is the third. So we've got A Sprinkling of Murder, A Glimmer of a Clue, which I thought was very close to A Glimmer of Death for Valerie. And A Hint of Mischief comes out next year. And I don't know. We have to see. I have to sell enough in order to get books 4 and 5. So I'm crossing my fingers. And then I have another Cookbook Nook coming out next year. So that'll be the 11th in the series. And that's what's next for me.
That sounds really, really good. What about you, Lynn? What's up for you?
Okay. Well, I have 2 Wicked Desserts, which comes out. It's an August book, so it comes out July 27th. I have a novella in the Farm to Fork series that's coming out July 6th, and that's a pumpkin spice killing. And then I have a book in the another novella in the Kitchen Witch series, which comes out, and it just got its cover, and it's beautiful. October 26th, and it's about Christmas, so that's good.
Wait, Lynn, how long is a novella?
About 25,000 words.
Okay, so about 100 pages.
About 100 pages, yeah.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
So those are the 3 that I have coming out the rest of the year, and then I just noticed I've got one in January and one in February next year. So Tourist Trap and Farm to Fork are coming out next year. So it keeps me busy. Yeah, talking about a past book that I've already written is really hard because it's like, now wait a minute, which book is that, and what is, which one is coming out now, and those type of things. But
I had to read the back blurbs. It was like, oh yeah, what happened in the
I saw it.
It's easy to confuse them, that's for sure.
I love it. I love that we're all the same. We're moving forward.
And I'm just starting a brand new series. I just started it a couple days ago, in fact, and it's so exciting because I get to rebuild everything. I'm setting it in Sedona, Arizona, which usually I like to have a fictional town, but Sedona's a little magical, so I've got that kind of paranormal magic going on. It's not a paranormal. It's called the Survivors Club Mystery, and she owns a bookstore, and she went through breast cancer, which I'm a survivor. So I'm using all of that background. And she is opening up a Survivors Club book club to get people together to talk, and so it'll be interesting to talk about the different cures that are out there, and the fake cures and the real cures, and all of the around curing cancer or curing any kind of a disease that's out there. I think it's kind of an extension of that kitchen witch healing information that I did when I did the research on kitchen witch. So I've got all that in my head. So I'm excited to start that.
I think that's really, it sounds like a very important an important book to be able to share. So good for you.
It's a little more serious than I thought. I gave them two options. I gave them this serious one and this Broadway Beach one, and they took the serious one. So we'll see. Fingers crossed.
That's
I hope so. I hope so. All right.
Best wishes to you.
Yeah. Congratulations. Good. We also want to be able to give a shout out for Valerie's next book. It's called A Fatal Glow, and it's book 2 in the Odessa Jones mystery series. It'll be out in March of 2022. And then I think
Hey, Valerie. I guess it's time to wind up. It's been a lot of fun. I just love talking to you girls. And now we're going to hand this over to John from Murder on the Book to moderate the audience questions.
All right. So first, I wanted to say thank you guys all for dealing with the technical difficulties. Valerie, I know that you were still behind the scenes and you've been popping in and out, and I'm so sorry that we've had connection issues, but you guys have all handled this like a pro. I know it's not easy dealing with tech issues as this stuff happens, so thanks for hanging in there. So we do have a couple of crowd questions. So Lindsay wants to know, can you guys each tell us something that you've read lately that you loved? Let's start with Daryl.
Oh, okay. That was good. I wish you'd asked me the question earlier because, okay, Mom, because I'm going to get the title wrong. So John, you're going to have to help me. All right. It's by Heather Weber and it's under the tree, and it's just under the.
I'm going to Google.
Because that caught me off guard. It's by Heather Weber. It's magical romance. It's absolutely lovely, and it's under the. Anybody want to put in the word here? It's on my ebook, and it's over there. So I'm sorry. Heather, I love you, and I love her writing. This is mystery. I also just read. The Diva Serves Up Forbidden Fruit, and it's by Krista Davis, and she writes just a wonderful domestic diva mystery series. I love all of them, and I had such a good time. She had a lot of victims. I'm gonna Google it. Doggone it.
How about you, Lynn?
You guys talk while I find it.
I've been finding some amazing books lately, and one of them that I found was Una Out of Order. The best time travel book, personal discovery, whatever, women's fiction. It is so good. It's called Una Out of Order, and go get it if you haven't read it.
I have the title, South of the Buttonwood Tree.
There we go.
There you go.
South of the Buttonwood Tree. Sorry to interrupt. Okay.
So funny.
And how about you?
I actually really like Carleen O'Connor. I am a huge fan of hers. And I also absolutely love anything by Jennifer Ashley. Her latest one that I just read was called A Gladiator's Tale, and it's about Leonidas, who it takes place in Roman times, and it's a mystery. It's so good. Highly recommend.
And you, Patrice?
Well, I'm reading something. It's called The Tagan, and I can't remember the author's name, but boy, this is really a strange book. But it really captures you right from page one, and just flipping the pages. And this one woman, I mean, my gosh, she goes through so much. She's mixed up with this. What are they called? Like a gang that they take children and sell them to people, and a real terrible crime. You know?
This is not a cozy mystery.
Yeah, no, and she had a romantic relationship with the son, and then she found all these documents that of all their activities that they were doing, and she, she photographed. Or yes, so she, made files out of them, and then she ran away, and then they caught her, and so they have, the crime people after her, and then there's another group, and I mean they're even worse. And the Tagans are a new species, and they live forever, but they have to eat eat people's flesh and drink their blood. Ew. Ew. And little did this girl know, like she's 24, on her 25th birthday, they're either going to die or they're going to become a Tagan. And her father is like, he's 100 years old and she never met him, but now he always looks like he's 30. So if you ever want to be a Tagan, there you have a book to read.
I have one more to add, since we're going on the dark side a little bit. The House of Crows by Lisa Unger. She's setting it up as a series book, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4 series, and they're really short novella type things, and it's just, you just got to read the next one. It's so good. I just like the frame work that she did it under too. So it's a different way of looking at what a book looks like. So
nice.
I love suspense. This one's a little off the wall.
So Valerie mentioned in the comments, so she's behind the scenes watching, even though her tag is popping in and out. So she mentioned that she is reading Louise Penny's new book, and she is also reading Valerie Burns' new book. And so for any of you that are fans of Valerie, she's actually going to be one of the authors that we're going to be chatting with in an hour. So we also had another question. So, a lot of times, writers, you've been writing for so long. So Anne wants to know, do any of you still have collections of your childhood writings? Let's go backwards and start with Patrice this time.
Of my writing in childhood?
Yeah, do you still have like anything like you had written as a child?
Heck no. I mean, I did write, but it was so bad. No. I didn't really seriously take up writing until I was 40. And I always wanted to be a writer. I knew, because I loved reading. So I wanted to give that gift back to others, and the joy of reading and just taking people to the other worlds, places that they'll never probably see in their lifetime, but maybe always dream about. And I succeeded. It's amazing. Who would know?
How about you, Tracy?
So funny. Patrice, you're so talented. I actually do have, it was, my mother saved it, and it was, I think I was like 6, and it's called Tracy and Her Pet Ant Blip. And it's on notebook paper, and my aunt looks like a baked potato. And I was, even then, I had the beginning, middle, and end, so that was good. And I was added an E, so I would be Tracy E. Washburn at that time. So yeah, I don't know. I do have it, and I only do because my mom was sweet and saved it. But
how about you, Lynn?
I do not have anything going that far back. I remember writing that far back because I was on the bus for a really long time. And one of the other girls who was on the bus for a really long time, she showed me how she wrote, and she'd write out the story, and then she'd take pictures of guys from Teen Beat, and she'd cut them out, and so she'd have them illustrated and stuff. And I thought that was so cool. So I started, like Patrice, when I was 40, actually writing, and I still have that suspense thriller, dead guy in the cooler out there, but I haven't done much with it.
And how about you, Daryl?
My mother kept a copy of The Giraffe Who Eats Leaves. And that was my 4th grade story. And I tried my hand at Nancy Drew because I fell in love with reading when I was 9. I was a late reader. When I got the measles, I was home for 10 days. And so I read all of Nancy Drew's stories. My mom had the books and she was finally, thank you, you finally read. And so I decided I would try to write a story. And I did. I wrote a story, but my mother didn't keep it, which means it had to suck. And then I in 7th grade, I had a teacher who talked me out of ever writing again in my lifetime. So I did not take up a pen until I became an actress and I wanted to write a screenplay. And I took screenplay classes and things like that. And when I finally started getting some pats on my back for writing screenplays, I started to get more confidence. But yeah, no, I had a 7th grade teacher who really took the wind out of my sails. I'd written a play and it was the night before Christmas, so it wasn't like I had to, change the words or anything. But he didn't like my take on it, so he thought that I shouldn't ever write again.
That's awful. That is terrible. That's terrible.
Okay, so I think that's going to do it for us today. But before we head out, I just wanted to do a quick recap. First, I wanted to send a huge thank you to Larissa and Michelle at Kensington for helping us get this set up. Not only this event, but the one that we're doing later this afternoon, and just for being so supportive of Murdered by the Book and us being able to host these cozy events. It's been one of the wonderful things about the pandemic is being able to host more cozy events, and I'm excited to see kind of once we can do in-store stuff, how we're able to still be able to do some virtual stuff like this. So thank you, Larissa and Michelle, for being so supportive and helping us get this set up. So I wanted to send out a huge thank you to Valerie Wilson-Wesley for trying. I know that she's been having some connection issues and she's been popping in and out and interacting with us in the chat and having issues. Valerie, thank you for trying. I did, as I mentioned earlier, I was able to chat with Valerie and Angela M. Sanders in January about her new book. So if you do want to hear her talk more about A Glimmer of Death, please go to the store's Facebook page or YouTube channel and you'll be able to see that conversation. But this afternoon, if you missed any part of this chat, once we're done, it'll be archived on YouTube. So we have been chatting with Daryl Wood Gerber, whose new book, Glimmer of a Clue, is going to be out Tuesday. We've been chatting with Lynn Cohoon, whose book, Two Wicked Desserts, is going to be out in July. And we've also been talking with Patrice Wilton and Tracy Hall, who make up the duo of Tracy Wilton. And their newest book, Mrs. Morris and the Vampire, is going to be out on August 24th. So thank you all so much for joining us. Anybody who's still out there, make sure you come back at 1 Central when we'll be chatting with V.M. Burns, Maddie Day, and Krista Davis. I just got word from Avery Aames that she's actually at the emergency vet with her cat, so she's not going to be joining us this afternoon. But yeah, so we're sending love to Dr. Watson and hope that he does better. But Ellery is going to be taking care of that. So y'all all take care, and we will see you soon.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Nice to see everybody.